Hello, everybody. I want to pop in here quietly so we don't startle anybody from the quiet stream to all of a sudden start screaming. Oh, no.
What happened? Did we break something?
I chose the wrong scenes. Hold on. So there we go. However, my camera's not showing, and your camera is. So that's good at least.
Search the threads. Twitch looks different. Why does Twitch look so different?
They're doing a little bit of a change to their the layout, like more of a profile page kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But say hello to the stream. Hello, everybody. I know you can't see me, but you can see Cecil at least.
Hey, everybody.
I'm gonna fix
Brian,
this.
where'd you go, man? What did you do?
I gotta fix it. Hopefully.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
While you were doing that, I'm actually going into my thing to host you. Is that what it's called? Hosting or whatever?
Oh, on your channel, yes. Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
But
let's do that.
My channel says that you're offline. I don't know why it says that. That's kind of weird.
No, you're hosting Clarkio. You gotta host Microsoft Developer. That's why.
My bad. My bad.
All right.
Don't tell anybody I was singing on the stream, though.
You were singing?
That's for like your eyes only kind of thing.
Cool.
All right, good. We're good. Let's do it.
Welcome, everyone. Happy to have you here. Happy Wednesday to you all. Welcome to the Microsoft Developer channel here on Twitch. I'm Brian Clark. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft here, and I'm joined here, this way rather, Cecil Phillip. Hey, Cecil.
Which way do I turn? Do I turn this way? No, I turn the other way.
That way. There you go. We'll get used to this.
We'll work it out. And
Cecil, what do you do? What do you do, man? What are you up to?
I do the same thing you do, man. What are you talking about? All right, so just like Brian, I am a cloud advocate, and we're definitely looking forward to hanging out with everyone today and talking about what are we talking about today? Mongo?
Get out of here.
Python? Is that what we're talking about?
Python, Mongo, and starting a new application. Right?
Yes. Got it. That sounds fun. I want to learn about that. Can I go in the audience and like sit back and watch us do it? Is that it?
I mean, you could if you can clone yourself. That way you could do that. But okay. No. Sorry, we're gonna need you for this to be focused.
I have to be present. Okay, I'm gonna be present.
But let's introduce everybody to the idea that you and I had. Welcome back, folks that joined us last week where we did our reaction to the announcements to the GitHub Satellite stuff, where we talked about code spaces and GitHub discussions and all that fun stuff. That was very interesting and cool. This week we're switching it up. We're going into Python development. Cecil and I consider myself a beginner still, at least. I don't want to speak on behalf of you, Cecil, but I'm fairly new to Python still, and I want to get more practice doing that and build up my skills there. And Cecil, what's your kind of background with Python?
I always like to say I'm Py curious, right? Like I like Python, I love it as a language, and I've always been paying attention to it over the years. Mm-hmm. But I've never had a Python job. I've never built a Python application. I've never deployed Python to like even a website or a phone or anything like that, right? So
yeah.
But I have a lot of friends that work in the Python space. We have coworkers that work in the Python space.
Okay.
And I think now too, with everyone just talking about machine learning, everyone's talking about AI and NumPy and pandas and TensorFlow and stuff, right? It's kind of a really good time to get into Python. A lot of schools too are making Python like their language that they focus on to introduce new folks into the world of software development. Mm-hmm. So I think from that perspective, it's just a really good time to dig into it and explore what's happening in the world of Python.
Yeah. It's funny. You mentioned pandas, and that one always throws me off because I think of like an actual panda and pandas, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, but I realize that it means something else,
Yeah, we have the most interesting names when it comes down to programming, right? Like there's Cucumber, NuGet, what else do we have? Broccoli.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Grunts. The grunt and gulp. Remember when the grunt and gulp was a thing?
Yeah. Silliness. So we got some folks in chat too. We keeps it real. Good to see you. And Hank, our fellow colleague and friend, Hank, who's been streaming as well,
That's awesome.
is in chat right now. Anybody else in chat? Anybody else want to say hello? Where are you joining us from? Let's get warmed up here and just start chatting with each other, and then we'll jump into getting into working on this project, right?
Let's do it.
How's everybody's week going? It's the middle of the day, hump day. You know, you got to get through it. Bill's HQ says from, I'm going to mispronounce this, so sorry, from Mississauga. Let's go. Mississauga? Okay. Well, good to see you. Thank you for joining us from there. Very cool. Okay. Very cool. So yeah, while we're waiting to hear from more people in the chat room, Adozima, do you remember Adozima? He was with us for
I do.
Okay, yeah.
I do.
Good to see you, Adozima. Thank you for being here.
Are you hosting on your channel too?
I am right now. Yes. Yeah. So okay. if you go to my Clarkio channel, folks that would normally expect us to be streaming there should see that we're on the Microsoft Developer channel now. So we'll see. DJ Discourse tuning in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Looking forward to this! Exclamation point. That's exciting. I'm glad to hear that.
That's very cool.
Joshy is a dog. Says, what is this? We going to talk about Patch Tuesday? No. Maybe no. This may not be the stream you're looking for, Joshy. And if that's the case, sorry. But this is different. Oh. Yeah. It is Wednesday. It's not Tuesday, too, by the way. In case you got your days mixed up, Joshy. So let's talk about the project a little bit to get people kind of up to speed. So a lot of folks that are colleagues of ours at Microsoft are starting to stream on Twitch. And Cecil, you had the question of like, well, I don't know when people are streaming. Like, what's their schedules all the time? Or like everyone that might be streaming on the team or across the company, right? So how can we get like a good, view on and perspective on like what's that look like? What does the overall layout look like? And so then I was like, you know what? I'm glad you bring like. That's an interesting question. One, because I agree. I think it'd be interesting to find out when everybody is streaming. But also, I'm part of, on my own channel, the Live Coders team, which is a group of people that are fellow programmers, developers in the broader community from various different experience levels and programming languages and backgrounds, where we all stream coding on Twitch here on this platform. And so that team had a conference fairly recently, not too long ago, where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on what I was saying. Oh, and during that, it was announced that a fellow team member created this tool that was a heat map for when team members of the Live Coders team on Twitch go live, and like how many people are live at this hour of the day and so forth, and this day of the week, right? So I'd be like, well, my thought was it'd be cool to kind of, in a sense, recreate a similar thing, but in Python, and see what it's like to do that and make it specific to just Microsoft folks. So like a canned list of that, right?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too, right? Because right now everyone's at home, right? Because of the situation that's going on over the world with the virus. Mm-hmm. And because of that, so many more people are streaming now, right? And so folks are like, oh, I'm streaming I'm streaming like in 10 minutes. And even though we're all at home, it'd be good to have a little bit of a heads up, right? Like, let me know maybe like the day before and not like 5 minutes before, that you're going to go online.
Yep.
Particularly for new folks too, that don't have that regular cadence, right? And are still trying to figure out like what's a good spot for me? What's a good time? How long do I want to be on for? And some of those types of questions.
Yep.
So for us that are consumers and watching that, it would be great to be like, oh, okay, Brian and Cecil, they're going to be on at Wednesday at 1:30, and it's going to be every Wednesday at 1:30. Or Michael's going to be on, and he's going to be on Thursdays, but maybe he's on every other Thursday. Like everyone might have a different schedule and a different thing, and also too, like the topics might change, right? Like someone just popped in and asked if we're doing Patch Tuesday. Well, we're not doing Patch Tuesday today, but today we're talking about Python, right? It might have been interesting for you to know that before you just turned on the Microsoft Developer channel or came to my channel or Brian's channel, right? And so why don't we create something that could, help with that, right? Like a web app or a website or something like that. And so I think it's almost like it's like a win-win on both sides. So one, we could create something practical that we could actually use and develop and maintain over time. And then two, we could continue to learn Python Because again, Brian and I aren't like super Python folks, but we want to learn about it. We want to try and take our experiences from other programming languages and put it into this one. So let's learn about the language and actually build something that we could use at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Catching up on some things in chat too. I got Pro Trepo says, "Hey guys, hey Pro Trepo, good to see you. Thank you for being here with us." And then I think I'm going to read it. Inept Smeagol says, "Stalking from Woodstock, Connecticut. I mean, watching."
That's funny. I love it. I love it.
Well, welcome from Woodstock, Connecticut. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us know in the chat, Inept Smeagol. So the one thing I want to point out here, right? And I know we keep kind of touching upon this. Cecil and I have said this a few times. We're not Python experts. We're approaching this as beginners for Python. So if you do know a lot about Python and you've had a lot of experience developing with it, we're glad you're here for one. But know that we're not necessarily going to be, well, we might just give you a new perspective on what it's like from a fresh start with Python, for one. But two, the idea with this, and the idea with like a lot of live streams, honestly, is it's not a scripted thing necessarily. It's not something where we start from A, go into B, and everything just works out smashingly. This particular set or session that we're going to be doing probably this week and next week, we're thinking, and maybe more beyond that. Actually, no, not next week. We have Microsoft Build. What am I saying? But this week and the next session after Build, we will be continuing to do. And the idea with it is that Cecil and I are just going to kind of learn and figure this out as we go. And you all can join us in that. You can contribute to it and be part of the building of that if you'd like, if you so choose. So the idea is if you're going to tune in, you might see the thought process and the problem solving that we go through and the type of ways that we approach these things as we are experienced developers. We both have backgrounds just in other programming languages and building out things professionally with those technologies. And Python is something where we're branching into to check out, right? So that's what's going on here. So I just want to set those expectations up front for folks so that they can kind of understand what this session is going to be about. And, you could stick around if you're interested. And if not, totally understand that maybe, it might be too low level for you, whatever the situation may be. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So before we start, though, we do have some things that we want to talk about, right? Like we had a few links that we wanted to share with folks.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do that. So what I want to do, what we're going to start to do with these streams, we've never really done it before, but we want to start sharing a few community links before we actually get started. One, to just let everyone know good places that you could go to learn about Python, to dig a little bit deeper, to go beyond beginner and maybe get to that intermediate and advanced level. And two, just kind of like highlight some of the great things that the community is doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you folks, and we can start to take a look at some of the great things that have been happening in the world of Python. And I'll be sharing my screen as soon as I can figure out where this button is.
Let me know when you do, and I'll switch this over to that.
All right, and I'm sharing my screen right now.
All right, give me just a second to get things a little squared away here. All right, you ready? I can bring your screen.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Everybody see Cecil's stream? Oh, go ahead.
Great. So as soon as everyone sees my screen, so I have about 3 links that I want to show, maybe 4 or 5. Actually, I have 5 links that I want to show. I'm lying. I can't count. So let's start off with these awesome lists. So I'm sure folks may or may not have heard about like the awesome lists, which are really just a group of links and resources that folks put inside of a GitHub repo. So there's the awesome JavaScript list, or the awesome Angular list, or the awesome I want to learn how to cook list, right? This awesome list for pretty much almost anything that you want to think about. But this one is the awesome Python list. And as you can see here, it says a curated list of awesome Python frameworks, libraries, and software resources that you can take a look at. Again, these are all on GitHub. Some of these are open source, some of these are not. But essentially, you could come to this list and just scroll, right? And then, if you wanted to learn about web applications, if you want to learn about distributed computing, about database drivers, logging, machine learning, search, all types of stuff, right? You can pick out almost anything that you want to learn about. So let's say, for instance, I want to learn about databases. I'm just going to, search for database. I'm going to click on it. And then you can see here's some different libraries and resources you could look at for databases. So for instance, today, like we're going to talk about MongoDB. And here's one for MongoDB, right? And here's an asynchronous one called Motor, right? So we have some options there that we might be taking a look at later in the stream. So This is a great one.
I think we lost Cecil. We lost you for a second here. All right, bear with us just a moment while we try and get Cecil back. The connection seems to be... There's a poor network connection. Reconnecting. You all can see me and still hear me okay in the chat? Let me know in the chat room, please. MongoDB, hey! Good to see you.
List or...
Hey, Cecil. Cecil? I'm going to have to ping him. DJ Discourse says, yeah, Clarky, you're still good. Okay, cool.
Hello?
Cecil, you are back now.
Oh, great. Awesome. Sorry about that.
No, I might have been on my side, so it is what it is. So we left off where you're talking about the asynchronous client's motor in this awesome list here, and then it started cutting out. But you're back now. Right.
So I was saying a little bit earlier before I got cut off. So if I want to learn about databases, I can search for databases. I mentioned today we're going to talk about MongoDB. And you can see here, like, we have a few options for working with Mongo, right? There's an official PyMongo one, and then there's also this one that talks about Motor, which is an async Python driver for Mongo. So maybe we'll look at one or both of those depending on like how time goes. But again, anything at all that you want to know about in terms of libraries and resources for working with Python on a given subject, you can definitely come in here and check out these awesome lists. Bryson, do you like awesome lists, Brian? Do you think awesome lists are awesome?
I do.
Really
sorry. I'm trying to. So with all the oddity with Skype, it kind of threw off the layout. So I'm just fixing that on the fly as you were talking through. So I mean, keep talking. You got this.
Okay, no worries. I'll keep going then. All right. So that's one of the links we wanted to share. Another one. This one's called PyCoders Weekly. I run into this randomly as I'm searching for things about Python. This is just a free weekly newsletter that just aggregates a lot of different articles, resources, new packages that come out, new services that come out. And so every week they have something really cool and interesting. So for instance, this one, you see it says May 12th. So that was yesterday. I can click view in browser, for instance, and I can scroll and we can see there's things in here about, concurrency, mapping Python opcodes, there's different discussions. There's even a listing here for jobs. So if anyone here is looking for a job, notice they're listing remote jobs too. Remote jobs is a really important thing for folks right now. You can definitely come in here and check some of those things out. So that's PyCoders Weekly. Definitely take a look at that. Another one I want to share with you is Real Python. So we're actually friends with some of the folks on Real Python. So I just wanted to put that out there, but they're not paying us to talk about it. But Real Python, really cool site. They do a podcast. They have a YouTube channel where they have a lot of free videos. And they also have this website. And here on the website, they have all these tutorials and free articles that you can take a look at and read. So definitely make sure that you take a look at these. Really well done sites, really easy to read. I don't know what else to say about it. It's cool. Check it out. A lot of good information out here about Python. They have swag too if you're interested in that. Like they sell books and courses. They sell T-shirts and stuff like that too. All of that has helps to keep like the free stuff going. So definitely support our friends over there at realpython.com.
Cool.
Okay.
All right,
now we do have two Microsoft links. Are you okay?
Yeah, we're good now. I think we're good now in terms of like the layout. We're fixed.
Okay, cool. Brian, did you want to talk about these? Because I actually got these from you.
Yeah, so that one. So those of you that have been like tuning into this channel in particular, and Cecil, feel free to drop these in the chat room while we're talking through this too.
Sure.
Those who've been tuning in, Christopher Harrison, who's been a host on this channel for quite a few sessions now for several weeks from the Microsoft Reactor team, has talked to you about a lot of things Python related and had put together as one of the folks that's part of the Python for Beginners series that is up on Channel 9 or on YouTube, wherever you want to go to watch that. So I thought that'd be great for people that are new to Python, looking to get started with Python. I've been kind of tuning into some of the videos and going through those bit by bit for some of the gaps in my own knowledge about Python via that series there. So that's a great resource that I wanted to share that we offer. And then the other one was Microsoft has a platform called Microsoft Learn, where it's more of like it's kind of gamified, right? So in the top right corner, you see like there's that 1,000 XP, so you can kind of, build up your score and like, with your friends or coworkers, see who has learned the most kind of thing and completed the most modules and stuff like that. But Learn is turning into a great resource to learn various things about technology, not just things about Microsoft, but just technology in general. So in this case, here's an introduction to Python Learn module that you can check out that will step you through in a course format with exercises and things like that will help you kind of get further validation and confirmation that you're learning what you're able to put into practice the things that you're learning through these types of materials that are available to you. So, and Cecil's dropping all those links in the chat for everybody in case you're interested in checking those out. And hopefully you
So
find,
many
find
links,
them
man.
useful. Yeah, absolutely. So many.
If we only had like a service that we could use to like aggregate links, that would be kind of a good idea, huh? Don't you think?
Ooh, I think I know somebody that put something like that together. If you want to plug that really quick.
Yeah, we might need to do that, right? So me and one of my teammates, we actually have a service, the URL list, the URL list, right? And I'll pop it in here really quickly so everyone can see it. And it's just a great place for us to share links. Essentially, is all that it is, right? So you essentially create like a link bundle, right? Which is like a collection of links, and then you could share one link with everyone instead of sharing like a million of them. Now, if I was smart, since I was one of the folks that worked on this, I would have signed on here earlier and I've gone to my lists and I would have created one of these things for us today. I would have shared it. But I did not do that. And I apologize. But I will do, after the stream, I will create one and I will share it with everyone. And so instead of having to be like, oh, why is this guy that keep posting links inside of the chat? We could just have one, right?
Yeah.
For the show, for today's episode, for today's stream. And we could just kind of reuse those over time. So I will do that, I promise. I will not be spamming folks with links. That is not my intention. I just did not do this before, and I apologize for that.
Major Gamer Geek says, "Do it now!" Smiley face.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I promise. Soon. Yes. I'll get to it.
Maybe after this today's session, you get a chance to do that. Yes. So catching up on some more things in chat. One, I don't know if you caught this before because we were having the connection issue, but MongoDB has joined us in the chat. Says can't wait to hear more. So that's exciting. Thank you all for joining us there. We have.
Is that like the official? Is that
what's that? Yeah, it's the official one. They have a Twitch channel. So I guess you know what. Oh. Let's plug MongoDB a little bit too here in the sense of I saw, like the month of April, right, or May, Mongo May or something like that. I saw you all did a good job on Instagram, to where I caught. Oh my gosh, what was it?
Awesome. Let's go to Twitch. MongoDB, is that what it is?
Yes.
That is very cool.
MongoDB May, yes, that's it. I got it right. So they're doing a bunch of stuff to share little tips and tricks and educational stuff around MongoDB through that series. So shout out to them as well. Great stuff.
That's great. And I'll go ahead and give them a follow.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn off notifications because I don't like notifications, but I will give them a follow.
Yes.
Definitely, make sure we check out some of their future streams. And you know what? Since you folks are here, at any point in time, if someone wants to come on from MongoDB to talk to us about Mongo on stream, I mean, that's totally on the table. We could talk about it. So, good. Just FYI.
Yeah. MongoDB says that's from our developer advocate, Adrian. And then they said, thanks, Cecil and Clark, too. Yeah. No worries. Of course. Yeah, I'm familiar with Adrian through Instagram, the developer community on Instagram there, which is a fantastic community. We got Tessel RX in the chat too. It says, Rue, happy. Good to see you, Tessel. Thank you for being here. Rollers was asking if you could share the links in chat, which we did. I'm glad we caught that ahead of time. And Major Gamer Geek with the good vibes emote. Awesome. Okay. So what's next, Cecil? Where do we go from here, man? What's it going to be? Or I got to look up, right? Yeah. What's it going to be? Because you're above me.
So we want to build this app, right? We're going to start with the database layer first, right?
Okay.
And we know, so we want to build this app. This app is going to track different streams. I'm guessing there's going to be like a scheduling component to it.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about shows, right? Like different shows and the different schedules for different shows.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we're going to have the links for where they need to go to, right? So thinking about like some of the features that we want this app to have, let's think about like, where do we want to start, right? Like, do we want to start talking about like how we want to structure it? Like, what does the data model look like? Like, have you ever done any data modeling? I haven't done data modeling in a long time.
I have, yeah, but it's been quite some time, like years now that I've done. It's been years since I've had focus on the data access layer or the data layer, let alone the data access layer that connects to that in some code, right? So,
Right.
yeah, I think I need to brush up on my skills there, but I think it's a good start here to think about what is the data that we need to provide such the details for capturing the streamer schedules, right, from Microsoft developers. So I think we need things, just thinking out loud, right? So we're going to start this again to bring everybody in here in terms of like getting some context. Today's session is about, all right, let's architect and design and do a little bit of implementation of things here and test things out and feel out the waters and maybe get into some implementation. And then the future sessions where we're going to dive even deeper into actually like more heavily implementation focused. But today is the planning phase, right? It's like, what do we need? What is it going to look like? How do that kind of stuff is where we need to start, just like you're starting a new project in any case. And then we work our way from there, right? So let's get some planning out of the way. And so I think it's a good idea, as you're mentioning here, that we start with the data side of this, and then that will help us drive the rest of the application and system that we're going to put together. Right?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Oh,
cool.
Actually, how about this? Why don't we start with creating a GitHub repo?
Okay.
Right? And then we could track some of these tasks inside of an issue, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go to GitHub. We don't have a like organization for the stream, so I'm just going to create a repo inside of one of mine.
Okay.
I have some private ones. Don't look at them. Pretend you didn't see those. All right. And we're going to call this, let's just call this stream tracker, right? We could call it that.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah,
I'll just leave it at that. I'll make it public. Sure. Let's add a README.
Add a license.
We should add a license to it, right? I always default to MIT license.
Yeah,
I always default to either MIT or there's one called the unlicensed, which pretty much means like I really don't care. Like just it's whatever. You know what I mean?
You got to have like the don't hold me accountable for this though, right? That has to be part of the license, I think. You need one of those,
right?
Regardless of any of the other aspects of it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with this MIT license, and I know this is gonna be a Python app. We're gonna do some Python stuff. So should I initialize this with like a Python get ignore file?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. And then
all right, WW Sean 08 says someone forgot to announce they're going live today.
Yeah, I was trying not to draw attention to it, but then you went and read it. He's basically telling me that I didn't announce it in our Discord for this, so I'll go do that right now. Thank you, Sean, for the reminder. Okay. But keep moving along, Cecil. Don't let me. All right, don't let me stop you.
Okay. All right. So we got the repo. Repo's created. Got some default files in here to get ignored. There's a license. There's a README. We'll flush this out as we go on. Let's go to. So you know what? I've never actually used GitHub Projects. I've used issues before. Have you used projects?
A little bit, just not in depth. But yes, a little bit.
Okay. So we could use projects to sort tasks, do planning. You could automate projects. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. Let's start off with, why not? Let's create a project and let's call this board, and I'll just call this the tracker board. I think we're just going to have one board. I don't think this is going to be like a huge project.
Okay.
Templates, basic Canva. Man, there's all kinds of stuff in here, man. So you can choose none, right? There's basic Kanban. There's automated Kanban. We said this has built-in triggers to move issues and pull requests across. Oh, that's cool. Kanban with reviews. All right, so I don't think I want like any of the trigger stuff. I kind of just want it to be plain and simple. So what are you thinking? Should we do basic Kanban or should we just do like a regular one?
When you do the automated one, it's not exactly like you still have control over it, but like what's nice about that at least that I've experienced is when you have issues. So basically, you use the board to kind of get a high level of everything, and then you can have like concrete issues that people can track that way to see the progress through the board for specific feature sets that you're assigning to somebody and that kind of thing. Whereas like on the board, a card on the board, I don't think you can assigned to somebody. So let's go automated Kanban.
Okay. So automated Kanban or the one with and without reviews?
I don't think we need the reviews. Do we need a review? Nah.
I mean,
think,
unless
chat?
you're gonna like tell me how bad my code is, then.
Well, mine is probably worse. So.
All right. Let's go ahead and do that. Description is optional. I don't want to spend too much time in here. Click create, and so now we should have a project. Wow, and there's stuff in here.
Yes.
Do I have to read all of this?
No. It just gives
create
you
project.
It just gives you an idea of what you can do with it. It's a starting point.
All right. So welcome to GitHub Projects. So excited that you could be here because that's important. Add a new column. Okay, we have in progress and done and to do. I think those sound like pretty good columns to me. I don't really think we need to add another one yet.
Yeah.
If we do in the future, we could do that. But
sure.
I think those sound pretty good. All right, so we could check that off. Drag and drop this card to the new column.
There is no new column.
Oh, because I was supposed to create a new.
So just put it in progress. Drag it to in progress.
All right, I'm gonna drag this over here. Did
fancy.
That thing. Search for and add issues, PRs. Okay, so if we did have issues and PRs and things of that nature, we could go ahead and add them already. So here's the question I have: do you have to create issues first and then bring a project, or can I create them items in the project? Can I create a card in the project and then create an issue after?
Well, let's see. So it's telling you in that one there, it says manage automation on columns. So if you click down towards the bottom right corner of a column, like the to-do one, there's manage. Mm-hmm. You click on that, and it gives you some details on what's happening there. So preset.
So presets for to-do. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it says choose a preset to enable progress tracking, automation, and better context sharing across your project. All right, so newly added. Issues will automatically move here when added to this project. Okay.
So I think if you create a new issue, it will automatically show up in the to-do column here for the project tab of GitHub.
It says issues would automatically move here when added to this project.
Right.
So can I create an issue and not add it to a project? Is that what it's saying?
I think so. So we got some folks in Parathon says both in chat. Good to see you, Parathon. Thank you for being here, by the way. Arjuna says, if possible, are you guys able to quickly go over your background in programming and which languages you prefer to use? We kind of at the beginning, I think you just missed that, Arjuna, but really quick, just to keep you in the loop. My background is I started out in C#.net, but that was many moons ago, and more recently, I'm more into JavaScript and Node.js. And then just to kind of on your behalf there, Cecil. Cecil does C#.net, ASP.net, everything around that world. But he also does some JavaScript and front-end web development, like the URL.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we both, like Brian mentioned earlier, we both work with Microsoft. We're both developer advocates. I have a little bit of experience in teaching. I used to teach university courses a while back. Pretty much most of my career has been around .NET. Done a lot of web-based things. So, that means I've done JavaScript and SQL and HTML and all those types of things. And Brian as well, like he's worked on a lot of different places. I know Brian's been very keen on learning about security and that type of stuff. And so what we're doing now is we're kind of just coming together and learning about Python, right? And so we're going to create this app called Stream Tracker. I don't know if it's called Stream Tracker, but we're calling the repo Stream Tracker. And we're going to use it with Python. And so right now we're going through creating the Git repo. We're going to create a project. We're going to add some items in there. And then we're going to, hopefully, if time permits, we're going to start working with Mongo and setting up a little bit of a development environment with that. So that's what the plan is for today.
And thank you for being here, Arjuna. They say, that's awesome. Thank you for being here and doing this. Well, we appreciate you being here too. All right. So yeah. Parathon in chat says, yeah, Parathon says if you tag the issue with the project. So I guess there's going to be a tag for the project called tracker that will you can label an issue, and that will automatically add it to the to-do list.
Okay, great. All right. So this one says move newly added or add reopens. I think we should add reopens, I guess. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The rule will be removed in the what? I don't want to remove it. I just want to add it.
Oh, no. So here's okay. I think
you want me to bring it back?
No, it's fine. There was a rule so basically you're working on the rules for the to-do column here. Yeah. And what they're telling you there in that alert is that there's already a rule for the reopened that's tied to in progress.
Yes. Yes, I like that. I do. Let's put it back there.
Yeah.
All right. So I like the rules that are here for now. Let's do that. And then since you said we removed it, okay, so it's back here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. So that's fine. So I like the way that the rules are set up. The board is here. I don't really want to change anything else with this. It says that we could archive this card. I don't think we need this card anymore, and it feels like it's taking up a whole bunch of space. It's just like this big card.
Yeah.
So I'm going to delete this.
Archive
unless you felt like
we got to archive it. Yeah, we completed it. Okay. Yeah, okay. Archive it.
So it's archived.
We already got something done today. Feel good.
Automatically move your cards to the right place. So we did those automation rules. I'm going to put this into the done. So we did that automation. It says cards. Cards can be added to your board, track progress, blah, 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 blah. Sure, I get it. This is like the hello world of cards, I guess, is what this is.
Exactly.
I'm going to delete it. Are you going to be mad if I delete this, or can I?
No, that one's okay. That one you can delete. We didn't do anything for that, right?
Okay, I don't want any problems with you, man. Like, I want us to be okay. So I'm making sure I ask.
After the stream, we're gonna have to talk, man.
Right. All right. So we have a board. We have a repo. All right. So let's start thinking about like, what do we create like a high level list of features, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure we could like delete this and move this around and whatever. But for now, let's create a high list of features.
All right.
Is there like that's not what I wanted to do. Is there like a detailed view? Like how do I edit this thing? Edit notes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So features. What are the things that we know we want this app to do? And I'll just create like a makeshift bullet list.
We want it to store the dates. Well, basically the days of the week and the times and the duration of when. Well, all right, let's back up. We need to have a list of people, of streams, channels that we want to focus on.
Okay, so we want to store a list of streams,
yep.
Right?
And then specifically about each individual stream, we want to know when they're live, right? So that would mean like what day of the week, what time of that day, and how long that
So we want to be able to we want to show the stream schedule. Is that what we want to call it? Show stream schedule?
Well, I think capture it, right? Well, yeah, right, yeah. I think we need to capture it first. Right? You think we're going to capture that level of detail and data first, and then another aspect of that, right? To break that down even further, because if you just say show stream schedule, that could mean anything, right? I mean, it could mean I'm just going to show blah, right? I'm going to show a stream schedule of of something that's unrelated. So if we go into more detail, right? So one of it is capturing and gathering that data. The other one is displaying it in a UI somehow so that it's easy to understand, I think, right? So like, display
in UI.
In UI.
So this was one of the reasons why I asked you the other day if you know React or any of those types of things, because I have not done front-end work in a very, very long time. Okay. Well, I don't know CSS or post CSS or super CSS or whatever folks are doing now. But I could write you some APIs and I could do some backend work. So if you're familiar with that, we could talk about it.
I know all the buzzwords for front end development. Does that count?
Sure. We can do buzzword bingo, right?
Yes.
See what happens.
So yes, I do have quite a bit of experience doing front end development, whether it's just plain old JavaScript, HTML, JavaScript, CSS kind of stuff. We could go that route.
Yeah.
Or we can go like a front end framework route. I think we can hold off on doing that making a decision on that. But yeah, so the short answer is yes, I have experience. It's been a little while since I've been doing that in practice. I have been focusing more on the Node.js side of things more recently,
Right.
but I'm happy to jump into that and handle those kind of things for this project.
Right. And you're right. Like we're not going to get to this right now, but just for the folks that are in the stream that know, like eventually we will get to doing those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
As well as like somebody's going to have to design it, right? And two developers and Photoshop. I don't know. Like that could be a bad recipe for stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what? So on my side, because I'm very API biased, I would love to make some of this data API accessible. Right. That's one thing that I would like to do.
Okay.
Right. Because I'm thinking, in addition to us creating a UI that could access it, it would be great if like some of our fellow streamers, if they wanted to be able to pull in that stuff, that they could do it programmatically as well. So that might be an interesting thing to consider.
All right.
So
so a public API, public.
Yeah, public API service. Is that what we call it? Public API service. Public API service. Okay. So we want an API. We want to store a list of streams. We want to capture this stuff. So we won't talk about any of the UI thing. This is a very broad topic, right? And I'm guessing this is what people call like epics, right? Like when folks talk about very, very high level goals and they haven't been actually broken down into individual components yet. Like I know I've heard them be referred to as epics. Have you heard that before?
I have. That's like it's bringing back, I don't know.
Maybe good or bad memories?
Potentially bad memories about agile methodologies and yeah. But yes, I have heard of epics, yes. And used it.
So I'm not planning to follow any particular type of methodology. Like I just want to write code and get it to work.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that.
Our goal is to learn Python. But even though we're still learning Python, we have to have a plan, right? And the goal here is let's just have like a very high level plan about how we want to go about doing things, right? Yeah, so we got a repo. We're writing some notes down. Like this card will probably change a few times. We'll probably add a few more cards. And maybe what might even be interesting is if we have some folks from the chat, if you all want to come on and contribute to this project, if you want to come on and stream with us one day, maybe, and we could talk design or we could talk, architecture and those types of things. That might be an interesting option as well. Cool. What else? So we want to store the list. We want to make sure we capture the schedule, right? Public API service, display UI. Okay. So this sounds like a good set of high-level features to run with for now, right? I'm just looking in the chat here really quickly. So someone sends epics, features, and PBI.
It's Python, yeah. You have a question in chat as well from Juan Lopez. Says, are you going to cover creating a modern Pi dev environment? I haven't done Pi in a while. Sad face. Crying face, actually.
I guess we could. I mean, I think we have to, right? Like that'll be a part of us starting out. So we know for a fact that we want to use Mongo. We know for a fact that we're going to use Python. We haven't picked a Python framework yet. I don't think we have, but we'll have to do that in terms of like the web framework. Like we're going to need to have to host it. I'm going to want to write unit tests. And I'll put unit tests on here because we always forget to do it, but please unit tests. Well, let's just write please tests. Let's just write please test.
Yes.
Right, because I don't want to just do unit tests. There's different types of testing that could happen. So, let's just make sure we write tests for this thing. What else? I know, Brian, you're also into security, right? Like I mentioned that a little while ago. Like, let's make sure that we look at some of the security aspects of it, particularly too when it comes down to creating that API service. Like, using OAuth or keys or whatever the case is, right? Like let's talk about like some of the pros and cons and what are the I don't want to say best practices, but what are some good practices, right, that we could follow along those routes?
Yeah, for sure. And like, I want to be very clear, like I'm not a security expert. I consider myself specifically an application security enthusiast. Like I just found myself to have quite a bit of interest in learning about that kind of stuff and tinkering and just figuring out, where the little vulnerabilities in my app or, my fellow teammates' apps and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we can definitely do that. I think like in terms of just getting something together, probably maybe when it comes to like that public API service, we might want to have some things like rate limiting so people don't abuse the API, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we could get into some of the specifics about that. Just thinking out loud off the top of my head of where what direction we could head in with that particular aspect of it, for sure.
Right. So it's like, as we're having this conversation and we're just brainstorming at this point, like each of these high level ones could be broken down into like sub epics. I don't know, is that a thing? Maybe that's a thing. They could have sub epics, and then we can have specific tasks around that, right? Like Brian just spoke about, like, different aspects of security, and we can have different aspects of testing. We could try different options for UI, right? Like we could have like a rich JavaScript UI, or maybe we can have a server-side render UI. And each of those have their pros and cons, right? When we talk about things like SEO or caching, or maybe, I mean, is web crawling a thing that we want to care about? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't want to get that serious. So maybe we start off with something simple and evolve into that over time, right? Like, how do we choose which topics or features or concerns we want to look at first? Like, how do we prioritize these things, right? And you're going to see us do some of that work over time. And some of the things we do, you might not agree with. Don't get mad. Don't yell at us. Just chill out. Right? But let's have a conversation. We'll have a conversation, and we'll go through this process.
Yeah.
Right.
So a couple things in the chat before we move forward. So Scott, thank you, Scott, for this, by the way. Scott in the chat room says, if using VS Code, some useful extensions are in the docs. HTTP is code.visualstudio.com, link right there. So thank you for that, Scott. That's a great resource. Duke says, Duke, good to see you, by the way. Thank you for the hi. And says, are you covering any data science topics like data visualization or data modeling?
We won't be covering any data science topics right now. Maybe in the future we might, but as of today, and probably not even for the next couple of weeks, we probably won't be.
Okay.
Nothing specific to data science.
Yeah. Major Gamer Geek has a nice little joke in the chat. Says, I don't always test my code, but when I do, it's in production.
I mean, that's the only way we do it, right? Like, how do you know if it's really working? You got to really use it.
Right. Exactly. And then just a few more things and we'll keep moving. One Lopez says, okay, but most important, Python 3, right? We're definitely going to go with Python 3.
Yeah, for sure. Python 3 all the way. I think Python 3.8.1 or 2 or whatever the case is the latest. So that's probably what we're going to base our stuff off of today. And Python 3.9 is coming out soon. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we're definitely going to go with at least Python 3.8 for this particular project that we're working on.
For sure. Parathon was breaking down some of the terminology for this project management type stuff. Says epics, then features, then backlog items, and then tasks to complete. I don't think we're going to get to that level, but yeah, that's good. Yeah, good reminder of that stuff. Thank you, Parathon, for clarifying that. Sean says some people have test systems, and few people are lucky enough to have separate production instances. That's good too. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I guess that's one way to approach things in that the whole testing, right? But yeah.
I think when you get to that point that where your application is going to be running on and how is it going to be hosted, then you could start to create like these replicated environments. I shouldn't say replicated ones. You should create these replica environments that kind of look like production, right? So you might have like a dev environment that looks like production, a test environment that looks like a production, staging environment that looks like production, and then you actually have production, right?
Yeah.
I know some folks only have production, right? And then they dev test on their local, VMs and machines that kind of sort of look like it, but really don't. And then some folks have all 4 or 5 different types of environments that they kind of gradually progress code through, right?
Yeah.
I know with GitHub, we have the ability to tag code and tag versions and things of that nature. And I'm pretty sure it's very possible for us to track something from the dev environment and take it into testing and staging or whatever the case is. And then we can always make sure that particular tagged version of the code, or that particular copy of it, is flowing through top to bottom. And so we can see, this is what's in it. These are the features that are enabled. These are the people that contributed to it, and like some of those types of things.
Yeah, for sure. And so just really quick, while we're kind of in this like in between moment right now, just a reminder to folks that are viewing right now, if you're interested or if you have questions, you have comments or things like that, please don't hesitate to ask them in the chat room. I want you all to feel like it's a very welcoming environment. No question is a stupid question. And we'll be happy to kind of clarify or elaborate on things that we might be sharing or talking about through these live sessions. So please don't hesitate to do that. And lo and behold, we have a question from El Columbio in the chat. It says, is this not just easily done with GitHub and Travis? So one, I guess I'll elaborate a little bit on that. I think, Cecil, you'll be able to take this one. But for folks that might be listening, Travis, what I believe El Columbio is referring to is Travis CI, or continuous integration. It's a service that provides some of the stuff that like Cecil was talking about earlier, where you can deploy or build for certain environments to run your applications in, your code in, and that kind of thing. And El Columbio says, thanks, I just learned Travis. Okay, cool. Yeah, so their question is, can this type of stuff that you were discussing, Cecil, be done with GitHub and a deployment tooling
Travis CI.
like Travis CI? Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So we are definitely going to use GitHub and GitHub issues and GitHub things, right? GitHub assets to build this. And so that part of your question is definitely a yes. And yeah, I mean, Travis is just like another tool, right? Another option of tooling that you could use. So, if you want to use Travis, if you want to use, I know the folks at JetBrains, they have a tool called Team City. If you want to use that, that's great. If you want to use Circle CI, whatever, right? Like in terms of like the actual building and creating the deployment assets. Yeah, that's totally fine too. I mean, Brian, you and I haven't spoken about it, so I guess we can talk about it now. Yeah. We might use like GitHub Actions, right? And just stay in the world of GitHub, right? So, we're probably not going to be jumping around and like trying to use a lot of different things. I think a major goal of this is one for us to go beyond like the beginner Python material that we've been covering and like actually build a real project and go through an actual project lifecycle, so to speak, for like a medium-sized project. This is not going to be like any super secret production grade type of thing, but at least then showing a little bit of like, let's take a step above like creating to-do lists and contact managers and things of that nature. And let's talk about testing and security and deployments and versioning, and we could do that. But yeah, Travis is great. Circle CI is great. If anyone uses whatever DevOps tools you use, if you use Atlassian, is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called, Atlassian.
I think, yeah, that's how I would pronounce it.
They make they make Bitbucket and those types of things. I mean, that's all great too. That all works fine. You can definitely use it. I usually tell folks just use whatever is comfortable for you. I mean, that makes total sense.
Yes.
We're probably just going to use GitHub, but if you want to try this out and set up a Travis Circle CI thing, I mean, that's all cool too.
I'm so glad you say that, and I kind of want to just harp on that a little bit more. Like the big thing here is use the tools that keep you productive. Like when you have in this case, right, this is just a project we thought up of doing, but for a lot of folks that are working at like a company or their own side business, they're freelancing, whatever the situation may be that you're doing as a developer, right? Your end users are what matter the most in that regard, not the technology, not the tools you use. Yes, some technologies and tools might be more fitting for certain scenarios and situations, but it's not always the case there. So feel like my mantra, at least, and what I think you were alluding to, and I'm just elaborating on because I feel so strongly about this, is use the tools that you're efficient with and it's going to keep you productive to help you get to that end result, an outcome that you want. And then in spare time, downtime, when you can carve out that in your schedule, experiment with new technologies, new programming languages, and new tools to see if they can fit into that tool chain or that workflow that you have as a developer. So
give me 1 second. My battery's running low, and I think my plug is out.
The stream's going to crash. Oh, no. So chat, how's it going while we're going through this? Sean says in the chat room, though I will say there are good times to experiment with tools to expand your knowledge. Precisely. We lost Cecil. He dropped from the call because his battery probably died. So let's just hang in here for just another moment. We'll talk with Cecil's chair up there. Cecil's chair, how are you feeling today? You offering good back support for Cecil? Yes? Wonderful. That's good to hear. The Niche, my man, good to see you. Says users interact with the UI. Exactly, my man. Good to see you. Thank you for being here, The Niche. Terry Andrew Davis, how you doing? Good to see you. Says this looks pretty neat. Thanks. Appreciate that. Appreciate your interest in it. And thank you for joining us in the chat and for the stream. Juan Lopez with the L9. L9's in chat. Terry Andrew Davis is Microsoft developer. Will you be at Build 2020? Depends on what you mean by be at Build, because physically, Cecil and I will not be at Build. But virtually, we will be there in some form or fashion. In fact, a lot of our time leading up to it right now, throughout this week especially, is being consumed in preparation for Microsoft Build 2020. So, yes. Lacerated Digits, good to see you. Oh, Cecil's joining us. Hold on, I'll catch up here. Hello, Cecil. Welcome back. We see you. We see you.
Is everything okay?
Yes. You plugged in?
Okay. I plugged in.
We got to add this to your pre-stream checklist. Make sure my machine is plugged into a power source.
Well, so here's the silly thing, right? And I'll be honest with you. So it was plugged in.
Oh.
It still is plugged in.
Did
but
you kick it
for
out?
some reason, so I'm using a MacBook, and my power brick sometimes doesn't draw power from the outlet. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it is plugged in. It's been plugged in. But like I just happened to look up, and then every time my computer starts to get laggy, like I noticed the windows are being like super slow to move around and things like that. The first thing I do is look up at the power gauge, right, to see what percentage my battery's at. Because when it starts to do that, then I'm like, oh, this thing is gonna like die on me, right? But it is plugged in, so like I just have to, I plug it out and I plug it back in with like the little power brick, and then like it works.
Well,
so
we're glad to have you
we're
back.
Good now. I apologize for that.
No worries. So we were having we were just talking in chat a little bit while you were getting that sorted out. So Terry Andrews was asking if we will be at Build, and I was joking around like saying, well, if you mean physically, no, definitely not going to be at Build and that, but virtually, yes. And our time has been consumed in preparation for that for next week, so we got that going on. And then Lacerated Digits was like, he's invisible and mute. Quite the trick. So you pulled a trick on us by your disappearing act. Because the interesting thing was the call, at least in OBS, it kept like a freeze frame of just your chair. So I was pretending to talk to your chair. And
that's funny.
Yeah. Jan in chat says, try to pronounce my name, Kappa. Jan. I'm just going to go with the Jan part. Good to see you, Jan. Thank you for being here. Sean says, will anyone physically be at Build 2020? No, I don't know. It's all virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. All the keynotes are going to be remote. Like some of the sessions have been recorded and are being recorded as we speak. Some of them are going to be live. What else? We do have some cool announcements though. I know the student team, our team, announced that we're going to be doing some streaming via the Microsoft Reactor folks. Like they've tweeted and messaged folks about that, so that's already public knowledge. And I know there's going to be tons of announcements that I'm really excited about hearing. But what about you, Brian? You got anything about Build that you're like particularly pumped about hearing about?
Oh man, so much. I know just a lot consuming. What we're going to be having, a lot of it is going to be streamed right here on Twitch on this channel. There's going to be a lot of folks that are involved with that. So majority of my time has been consumed by preparing that, getting things organized for that, and just kind of helping support people that are going to be contributing to that as hosts on here. So look forward to that, folks. Just a heads up, that's what you're going to be seeing next week's schedule. In fact, if you're on a browser, or actually Twitch has been kind of messing, like we said earlier, with the profile page of the channel, but typically right below the screen where you see us on stream here, there's some panels, they're called. And one of them has the schedule. If you look at the schedule, it's going to bring up an Outlook calendar, and in there you're going to see next week is just kind of blank. It's because Build is on the 19th and 20th, and we're going to be publishing the schedule that you can find to watch, or at least participate in the Twitch aspect of Build on here on this channel. So keep an eye out on that on the calendar. We'll be updating that probably by the end of this week would be the plan. And then that way people can tune in to this aspect of Build. There will still be the main show streaming on the Microsoft websites for that. And this is going to be a separate supplemental type of thing. So just a heads up on that, little inside scoop of what's going to be happening there.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and save this because this has been like on the screen for like a long time. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and save that really quick.
Sounds good.
Any other questions you wanted to tackle before we
Two other messages in chat. Sean says, anything specific you can share, Brian? Kappa, and those that may not be familiar with some of the Twitch stuff, the Kappa emote that you see there is supposed to be like just tongue-in-cheek joking around. No, I cannot, you know this, Sean, but I know, and that's why you're joking around. We cannot share any specific announcements that, will be shared during the conference. So you just have to wait until Tuesday, my friends. And then I'm going to say Orion says, how long are you coding today? We are going to be going for probably like another hour or so with the stream. As for coding, we mentioned this earlier in the stream, but just to get everybody that might be just tuning in now, a little heads up. Today was like the planning day, figuring out the architecture. What do we want to do for this new project that we're starting? And specifically, the project is about, let's build a tool or service that can help track when fellow developers, in terms of our colleagues, Cecil and I, that stream on Twitch, Microsoft employees, and try to get a gauge for when all of us are streaming and like help share that with folks. So that's kind of what the project is. And today we're in that planning phase of figuring out how are we going to go about implementing this and do that. So you're joining us from that aspect. And then a future stream, which is going to be 2 weeks from now, we're going to keep flowing with this and iterating on the project and start implementing and doing more heavy coding than what you're seeing today. Cool? Cool.
I think your screen... Okay, never mind.
There we go.
What I want to do is I want to give Brian access to this repo.
Oh, are you sure you want to do that?
I mean, I trust you.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Yes, I got him to trust me, chat. Now we can just totally...
I'm going to put in my password real quick.
Mess up all the code. Yeah, do it on another screen, or I could switch scenes if you need.
There you go. All right, so I just want to give Brian access. I'm going to invite collaborator. I think yours is Clark here, right? Everywhere?
Yes, that's me.
Yep. Add to stream, pending invite. All right, great. Great. All right, cool. That should be fine. So Brian's a collaborator. We got the repo. We have a project with some things that we want to talk about in here. Very high level options.
Do we lose Cecil again? Look at that. He froze like that. Oh, man. Oh, Cecil, what's going on over there, man? We're struggling today. Reconnecting, there is a poor network connection. All right, folks. Well, this is what you get with a live stream. This is demo fail for real. Cecil, are you there? You're cutting in and out. I'm going to message him in the chat room. While we're waiting on him, I'll answer some questions in there. Kismatu? I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Let me know. Out of respect, I want to get your name right. So I will try my best to pronounce it. He keeps talking. He has no idea that we couldn't hear him. Are you back now? Cecil?
Hey.
Hey, welcome back, buddy. How was it in digital distortion land?
So you literally froze, like your window was frozen, and I'm like, who in the world am I talking to? Like, what is happening right now?
You froze on our screen. You were like this. You're like, it was fantastic. And I think one Lopez in chat got a nice clip of that, I think, too. So we'll have to check that out.
Oh no!
Yeah. It's on the internet, man. It's you're done for now. It's gonna be a meme.
You know what? I just want to say to everyone, for folks that have always been afraid to stream and have wondered about like errors and mistakes and like bloopers, we have tons of them. So, yes. This is one of the reasons why Brian and I do this. It's one we want to show and teach stuff and talk about programming and all these types of things, but also too, like, this is a completely unscripted type of situation, right? Like, we come up with ideas on the fly, we answer your questions on the fly. We try and navigate through issues and problems like on the fly. And so, we are obviously at the mercy of the internet, and everyone across the world knows how crazy the internet's been. So you're just kind of getting it as is, right? So we apologize for it, but this is kind of just the way the world is right now.
I think while you're doing that, I was checking on some things. It might have been some failure on my part, like having some things that were running that normally I have closed before I start streaming. And in addition to that, I have the family home, so they're using up some of the bandwidth. So that might be affecting things too if they start using it a little bit more heavily at times. So that might be what's happening in the moment.
Got it.
But in any case, catching up on some things in chat too. Kismatu, again, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, was asking, what do you think about Blazor in production? I think we're going to hold off on answering that question since that's off topic right now, but thank you for being here and appreciate you asking the question. El Columbia says, feature request streamers often make announcements in Discord. Is this too much to tackle? I wouldn't say it's too much to tackle. Well, I think that's outside the scope of the intention of this project. So, but I like the idea. Keep the ideas coming. This is good. This is good stuff. We're working together. Think of it as we're, not pair programming, but we're mob programming, right? It's Cecil and I, and then you all as viewers are joining in on this project, and you can feel a part of it. It's open source, right? So you're going to be able to contribute to it if you'd like, open up issues, open up pull requests, add, you know what I mean? So that's the idea behind this. Very collaborative. Don't feel like it's just us watching us build something out, and you're just that's the end of it. It's supposed to be highly engaging, involved, and kind of a community-driven project that we're going to work on here. So keep the feature ideas coming. Go ahead. What's up?
So you're right, and I agree with Brian 100%. But I also really like those ideas, right? And I want everyone to keep giving us ideas. So what I want to do is I'm going to add a note here. And remember, these are just high-level features. Yeah. And I'm just going to add a note here, and I'm just going to call this third-party integration.
Okay, that's great.
Because I think it would be interesting if we talked about how could we integrate in via bots calling some service, whether it's Discord or Teams or Slack or a thing, right? And I'm not saying we have to build it, but if we have an API, right, like that might be a scenario that we want to cover and take care of. And maybe folks in the chat, like once this thing is up and running, you could start to create like really cool projects and show us, I don't know, maybe someone builds a mobile app or someone else builds like a prettier looking website than we build, or whatever the case, like a bot integration or something like that. Yeah. So I'll just put it on there because I do think it's a cool idea. I don't think we're going to get to it this week or next week or even the week after because we haven't even written any code at all yet. Yep. But I do think it's something to keep in the back of our heads as a use case for potentially in the future.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, keep these ideas coming, all of you that are joining us in the chat room there. And we'll be happy to track that and see if it's something that we work on as part of the project in the future. Some more things in chat. So the other thing I want to mention here, right? So people are like, oh my gosh, he keeps talking to chat, or maybe you like that, maybe you don't like that. But again, what I want to emphasize about this is this is different, right? If you're new to Twitch, this being an educational resource, a learning mechanism, it's different from the traditional stuff that you might find on YouTube or courses where it steps you through one by one. Everything's planned out, worked out, and it's supposed to be just happy path, so to speak, right? This is more about let's get our hands dirty. Let's get into the weeds of these things and actually see what it's like to step through it, work through ideas, the thought process behind it. And with that, right, it's very much involved with you all. So that's why I make it a point, and Cecil makes it a point too, to read every message in the chat room, and where possible and feasible and appropriate, we respond to your messages in the chat room. So that's why it's very important to us that we, out of respect that you're spending time with us, we're going to acknowledge your messages and respond back to you as we can, right? So sure. with that in mind, I see Neo X Quick says, Clarkio, you should probably change your picture on Twitch or GitHub. Why? Because I don't have the facial hair in my picture. Is that what you're trying to say? You trying to call me out on that, Neo Quick?
It's funny.
But it's not a bad idea. I don't know how long I'm going to keep the facial hair, but I don't want to distract from the stream today, but because I could go on and on about it. But thank you for the heads up on that. It's a good idea. There's a clip, by the way, from Juan Lopez in chat. If you still have the chat open, the Frozen in Time one, I got to check. I'm going to save that for later, by the way. I'm saving it.
I do. I'll take a look at it later afterwards in the stream. I'm kind of afraid to look at it right now.
Yeah. Matthew says, what software are you guys using to talk? We're using Skype for this, but let's not jump to conclusions that it's Skype that was the result of this. I really do. There were some things that I still had open that were eating up some of the network on my computer here. That was probably causing some of the issues. And so far, we've been stable since. Dead End says this is 20. Dead End says this is 2020. There won't be any planning anymore. It's Corona time. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's a fair statement.
That is true.
And there we go. We're all caught up. Okay, so let's proceed. What's next? Where
Okay.
we got the high level features thought out. Should we talk about some more concrete details now? Like get into some of the specifics. Start with that data, or what?
Yeah, let's start with the data because I know folks don't want to like we could sit down and we could talk about things forever. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember back when I had like when I worked on a product and how long we would have like these planning meetings for like 4 hours just talking about features and stuff like that. We are not going to do that here. We're not going to spend 4 hours just talking about like features and who's going to do them. Like I definitely want to spend a good amount of time like discussing the planning, but also like showing some practical like movements in the product.
Yeah.
So with that being said, like we did tell folks that we're going to look at Mongo, talk about Mongo, and start to use it. Brian and I decided we wanted to use Mongo as a data source. So why don't we talk about, well, one, if folks aren't familiar, let's talk about what Mongo is. Like, let's talk a little bit about how it stores data. And
Okay.
then maybe we could, I could start to get into like a little bit of some of the tools that we use. And then maybe we could start to like sketch out what a document might look like, or like what even is a document. So what I'll do is I'll just hop over to the website real quick. So for folks that are not familiar with Mongo, so MongoDB is a documents-based database. And it even says it right here, right? Like it's a general purpose document database. And it stores its documents. Like I say, it stores its documents as JSON.
You scared
It's
me
not
for
really
a second.
JSON.
With that pause, that pause scared me. I was like, oh no, not again.
I was like, wait. Okay, I'm back. No. So I'm oversimplifying it, but it stores its documents as JSON. I think technically it's called BSON or binary JSON, but
Okay.
for our intents and purposes, like it stores it as JSON documents.
Okay.
Right. And so if you're familiar with JSON, there's curly braces and they're essentially like key value pairs of stuff. Right. MongoDB is free and it's open source. We're gonna probably be using like the community edition of it, at least for our development. Right, and then you can always come and you can download it here. It looks like the most current version is 4.2.6. I'm not going to download it from here. I'm going to show you all how to do it via Docker container because I like running things in containers. So we'll see a little bit of that. But this is the database that we're going to use. I've used MongoDB a little bit. Brian, I don't know if you've used it at all, but I've had like very light projects that I've done with it. Very light querying, and mainly like I just rely on like the SM SDK, right, to do a lot of that heavy work for me, right? I don't usually write a lot of direct queries in Mongo.
Okay. Yeah, it's like I said before, it's been a while since I've had a focus on that layer of an application. But I have in the past, yes, worked with document-based or NoSQL-based databases. So yes, and Mongo being one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, so here's the documentation. We'll probably get into this more as we go on, but if you want to learn about Mongo, definitely check this out. It looks like they have a getting started guide in Python.
Oh, nice.
Cool. So maybe this is a good place for us to start. Like whenever we start to like get our environment together, we could kind of run through this tutorial.
Would you mind bumping up the like zooming in a bit? Yeah, the font a little bit so people can see a bit better.
Yeah, sure. Make it a little bit bigger.
Perfect.
But this is the official tutorial from mongodb.org. So maybe we'll take a look at some of these things and again just to get familiar with using the API and stuff like that. Okay, so we have this. We know we're going to use Mongo. Why don't we figure out like what our document is going to look like? Like what are the entities? Like what are the things that we're going to store?
Yeah.
And like what properties of these things that we want to keep? And now, so to capture that, I want to use a thing. I want to use another thing. I know we're like using a lot of things. I want to use another thing. I went to a website. This is called draw.io. And I want to use this because it's essentially like a place that you can go online and just create drawings for free.
Dude, it's so weird you mentioned that because I saw a tweet, I think it was this morning, from somebody that created an extension that allows you to use Draw.io in VS Code.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. No need to go into that rabbit hole, but like that just you bringing this up, I was like, oh wow, what a weird coincidence. So yeah, okay, cool. Draw.io. So what are we gonna draw, man? What are we gonna do?
So I just want to start to capture like the document. You know what I mean? You can do UML diagrams in here. You can do boxes and arrows and stuff. I'm not trying to create like a whole entity diagram or anything of the sort. Like this is purely a brainstorming exercise. Like, so I know there's a lot of purists, software development practice purists. It's cool, man. It's okay. Like this is brainstorming. Like we're not trying to get too crazy,
Okay.
right? But let's talk about some of the things that we might want to store, right? So I just clicked on this thing, and under UML says class. I'm not really considering it a class. We're considering it a document, right? But we know for a fact that we want to store a stream, right? And I think the stream being like the stream or the stream show or, whatever, however we want to, classify that should be like the main thing that we're focusing on, right? So we'll call this the stream/show. We'll probably come up with like better names for that in the future, right? And so what are some of the properties that you think that we should store in here, Brian?
Well, one, I think we need the channel, like the username, right? The channel could be Cecil Phillip, right? Or it could be Matthew Kozlowski in the chat, right? So we need the channel name.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to put channel name, right? And then this will be, I don't know, I'll just put the type here because I see them putting types there at the bottom. String. I'm going to zoom in. Zoom. Whoa.
Whoa.
Sorry. All right. There you go. How do I move around? I want to move around. Can I move around the page? Is there like a button that I press to move around the page?
I don't know.
Let's see. I grab the page and move it. Now, is it basic? Let me go to basic. No. How do I just move the page? I don't know how to do this. All right, I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. I'll use like the scroll bars. All right, so we got this, yeah. So we got the stream show. We gotta have a channel name. What else do we want to have in here?
Well, so a couple things in the chat. A couple things in the chat I want to catch up with on. So Sean brought up a good point in chat. Says you want the channel ID, not the name, because especially with Twitch, right? The channel username can change. Like Twitch allows people to change their username, but then they have a channel ID. So maybe we need to do channel ID, which I think could still be a string.
Okay, sure.
That's fine.
What does the channel ID look like? Can we show an example? Or would that be like a security for me to show that?
No, I don't think it would be a security risk. I'm trying to think where we could go. Basically, it's the Twitch documentation, but it's a bunch of numbers. So it could be a number, but I think it generally comes back from the Twitch API.
So is it like a hex thing, you think, or?
No. It's just like an integer, but like maybe a long integer, something like that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So Sean says it is a string type from their API. So I do have. So here's the good thing. I have experience building bots or chat bots with JavaScript and Node.js to interact with the Twitch's API. So now we're just going to I can bring that to the table with applying that to this Python tool that we're going to be doing, because I think we're definitely going to have to, I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but just maybe not too far ahead of us, because we're going to be interacting with the Twitch API in order to gather the stream information anyway on the certain channels that we decide that we want to do that for. And, we kind of need to, have some idea of what Twitch is offering from their API and apply that to what we need for our purposes, right? So the channel ID is a string of numbers, basically. Orion says the example from Twitch docs is _ID, and then it's like a, 9-digit number.
What did I just do?
What'd you do?
Channel. Okay. This is interesting. ID, channel ID. So you can add property names here, but I don't see them show up. Placeholders. What does that mean? That's interesting.
In terms of moving around, I'm gonna mess up the pronunciation, so sorry about this. But Refustis says you can use middle click to move around in there, or space plus click and drag.
Got it. Awesome.
There you go. Thank you so much for that. And let me know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, or Refustis. So yeah. what else we got in chat here? So there was a question about potentially doing a Discord server, by the way, from Dead End. We might need to do something like that where we can keep the conversation going off stream too, right? But just mental note for later. Tesla RX's mixer agents detected. What do you mean? Matthew says, are you listening? Only Microsoft employees that are currently live? Yes, so that's the idea, Matthew, with the project. Well, it could be open-ended. It's basically, we're just going to have a list, right? However that list is consisted of, but just think a canned list of specific channels that we want to include as part of tracking and automatically generating a schedule for those channels. So it doesn't, like, the idea for us is we would be having that list focus on Microsoft employees that are streaming to Twitch, but we can build it out in a way that that's dynamic. Other people can track different lists of channels if they'd like.
Yeah.
Sean says Microsoft Ultimate. I think it's a joke about that. Okay. Go ahead. So what do you need help with? What's going on, Cecil?
No, so I right-clicked on it. I get distracted, right? So I right-clicked on it, and it said edit data, and I saw properties, right? I was like, oh, I could add properties to this, and it will fill out like the design diagram or whatever.
Yeah.
But it looks like this is just metadata for the property.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because if I say property name blah, right?
Okay.
Like, so notice it doesn't allow me to say the type. It does allow me to put some data in there, and I can apply it, but notice it doesn't show.
It doesn't show,
right?
Yeah.
But so essentially, this is just metadata that's associated with that thing. I thought it was actually allowing me to like fill this out in a more robust type of way, but I was mistaken. So
gotcha. Well, that's cool. We're learning this design diagram tool, Draw.io, at the same time. All kinds of stuff today.
Yeah. All right, so we have channel ID, right? We know that's a thing. So I'm guessing, do we want to store the URL, or is the URL something that changes as well?
The URL to their channel. Do we need that? I don't think we would need that. We just need their channel ID because we're going to hit the Twitch API URL to have certain endpoints to gather all the streams that channel has produced. So I don't think we need a URL to them. Oh, well, maybe, you know what, maybe we do. Like, so maybe somebody wants to, let's think about it this way, right? So yes, for gathering the stream and the schedule purposes, we don't need it. But for the purposes of maybe the UI, where somebody's looking at this and they want to go, oh, I want to go check out this person's stream, it'd be nice to have a URL directly to their channel that somebody can click in through like some UI that we might build as part of this, right? So sure. Yeah, maybe URL. Okay, let's do URL.
Because here's what I'm thinking as well, is we do have folks that stream outside of Twitch, right? I know some folks that stream on YouTube, right? And at some point in time, maybe we might have some folks that stream on Mixer, right?
Yeah.
So is it, and not in terms of like just a one-time thing, but maybe this is like their recurring platform that they chose to focus on, right? Yeah. Or maybe they're multi-streaming, right? And maybe every Monday and Tuesday we multi-stream to different places. You know what I mean? So could that be something that we consider? The fact that, here's a stream, right? And then now the stream has like multiple sources or multiple destinations for their stream output, right?
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
I think for the purposes of this right now, though, we focus on just the one platform, Twitch.
Okay. All right.
But definitely, maybe as we're building things out, we keep that in back of mind that we could support other platforms, streaming platforms too, right?
Sure. Okay. So then on that note then, so if we're going to have the channel, I would say we should have the platform, right? Or I don't know, destination, I guess, I don't know, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right. And then this could be like hard coded to be, this will be a string, but we could just call this like, it'll be hard coded to Twitch, right? And that's like, we could have like different places that we could put it in.
I would maybe describe it more as platform, right? I mean, that's at least the nomenclature I hear a lot of other folks in the community describe it as, like YouTube's a platform, Mixer's a platform, Twitch is a platform, right?
Stream show, sure, that's fine. Okay. So did we say we wanted to add the URL or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be nice to, the only thing, the caveat to that is Sean was saying the URL could potentially change based on the name change, but I think we could dynamically get, based on gathering our information via the channel ID, we can gather that as well from there. So I think it's okay to have. Just keep that in mind.
Well, we'll have that. We'll keep that in mind. Yeah, like you said. I want to add more to these. Can I drag this down? Okay. Oh, what in the world did I just do? I pulled it away. Go back. Oh, you know what I think it did? I think it made that individual one bigger. I want another one. Can I duplicate? Okay, great. That's what I want to do. Duplicate.
Okay.
All right, so we have channel, platform, URL. Do you want to store the host name? Is that a thing that we want to do? Is that important? Or host's
No.
name?
I don't know. I don't think so. Chat, what are your thoughts on that? Do we need chat? Feel free to chime in on other things. What's some data that we would need to capture as part of this? So the big thing that comes to mind for me that I think we haven't hit yet, Cecil, is the streams, or when the dates and times of streams, right? So that would be like more of
GDPR
a
says no.
GDPR
Okay.
says no. No in terms of
So
the host name?
I'm guessing I can't store the name because GDPR says no. Are you being serious, or is that like, are you joking? I'm not sure. Can
There's
you
no
really not
kappa.
store people's names for GDPR?
Jan, are you messing around, or is that like no idea? So they're joking. Jan's joking. All right. So we do need to somehow
Oh, okay.
capture like the start time, the day of the week, the start time. So assuming this is going to be, let me back up.
So
Is there going to be
we'll capture the schedule.
another document that's going to be capturing schedule details? Whereas this is like at the high level, this is the channel stream/show, right?
So here's what I'm thinking, right? So for folks that are familiar with working with documents and in terms of a storage, you can have nested objects, right? A document is technically an object, right? It's key value pairs, and you can also have nested ones. So what we could do is we could call this an object. Oops, right? And then I'm guessing I could like hit this arrow. Is that what I wanted to do? That's not what I wanted to do. Anyway, I'll add an arrow, right, of some sort. Boom, right? Parent child. And then I'll just add like another one of these things. Maybe, boom, yeah. I'll zoom out.
Okay.
Right, and I'll say this schedule is a type of, this is a schedule, right? And then we can define like what a schedule means, right? So for instance, this could be like a recurring schedule or a one-time schedule, or, you know what I mean? And this could be like an array, right? Like, so this is the parent and this is like, can I change this? So this will be like a single, right? And then this could be like an array. Actually, I'll just put this here, right? This would be like an array.
Okay.
Right? So like array of schedules, right? Because you might have more than one schedule.
Right.
Or maybe you have like a dynamic schedule, right? Like maybe that's another thing that we should consider, right? Like this is a single instance. This only happened on this one day, right? Versus I have something that happens every Wednesday or every Thursday.
Okay.
Right?
I think that's fair. Major Gamer Geek seems to agree, says I would have another table for the schedule. So it looks like that's what you're doing there.
Yep.
Size of void says add a bool that denotes if the channel is currently live or offline at the moment. I think that's a good idea. I like that.
Okay, yeah, sure, let's do that. So we'll call it is live, right? And I'll call this, make that a bool. So then how would that work? I mean, not how would it work, but so we'd have to update that every time, right? Like, so we'd have to have some type of background job that's constantly checking to see if it's live or not and update it.
Well, I think
Because
that's
I'm also
gonna be the
thinking
case
that we
all
could
the
just
time, right?
calculate it from this.
Oh,
Say that again?
yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, is that something that we could just calculate versus having to actually store it?
Yeah, we could go that route.
You know?
But like, well, let's.
So I think that's something that
let's
we should have.
let's think through this a little bit more, right? If you go the route of calculating it, if somebody doesn't stick to their usual pattern or schedule that we detect, how are you going to calculate that then, right? So you either way, you have to have some type of recurring job that's going throughout maybe once a week. You know, the frequency might vary depending on the approach we take here, but you have to have something, consistently on a certain cadence, reading the data for a full week or something like that. Let's just go with that for an example. And then if something varies based on that week, right? Then because the idea is to predict what's going to happen the next week potentially. and be able to display that to folks so that they can get an idea of like Cecil's going to be on Wednesday at 1:30 or not, right?
Right. So my headspace, I'm thinking a show, like say we added a new show. We added the Cecil Bryan show, right? So we have an ID and URLs and platforms and all of this type of stuff. And then someone asked, okay, well, when is Cecil and Brian going to be on? Right? We're going to be on every Wednesday at 1:30. And so we add a schedule for that, right? So maybe we have like a day and a time or a date time field or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a thing that says like is recurring, right? And I should probably just add these as I'm talking about, right? But like if it has something that is recurring, right? Boolean, right? And then we'll have like some type of, I don't know, date or I don't know, time. I don't know. We'll call it something, right? But essentially, we'll have like a date, time, you know what I mean, thing. So is it recurring? I'll just call it when. There you go. That makes me feel better. So, we'll have a schedule. Is it recurring? When is it recurring? And then we can have multiples of these, right? So like somebody would have to enter that data. You know what I mean? So if you're saying, okay, well, hey, I didn't come on this day, right? Or I had to reschedule or something like that. You know what I mean? Then we can create like a single instance of those things. You know what I mean? That falls within that date range to say, okay, well, are we like canceling or are we not going to be there or not, right? So I think this is live thing is something that could be calculated, is what I'm saying, based on like an aggregate of these.
Yeah, you're right. And so Parathon, I'm trying to read the chat too at the same time. Parathon in chat says is live sounds more like a visual state rather than a stored state, which I think is what you're
I would
alluding
agree
to
with
as
that.
well, right? Okay.
Right, that's what I agree to. So yes, I think it's a property that we should have and we should show. I just think it's something that could be calculated on the fly. It's kind of like, if you're building a banking application, like you don't really store the balance, right? Like your balance is an aggregate of transactions.
Yeah.
Right. And so I kind of feel like this kind of falls along a similar light where this property or that information would be an aggregate of schedules or schedule states.
With that in mind, I still think showing whether a specific channel is live or not through this app that we're building is useful. So maybe we actually take that out of this particular diagram and add it more to the project tracker in GitHub as a high level feature, right? Show whether
Okay, so you're saying come here and
display when a channel is live.
How do you edit this thing? Okay, there we go. Right, so under captures, and I'll do like, I'll indent it, right? And I'll say show if live, right? Great, so we got that captured in there. All right, so here's the schedule.
We have we have a lot of things in chat to catch up on, man. Actually, let's pause for a moment here.
Sure. Okay.
So a couple things people are asking about, and I think I know the answer to it, but I want to give you the chance to kind of describe this a bit more. They're saying, is this really, a structure in Mongo, or is it just the app state says Junicus? And other people are kind of asking similar questions in the same way, all being very kind about it, by the way, too. So
Sure.
How would you describe what we're doing right now? Is this like exactly what we're going to be doing in Mongo? Like, how does this relate to the Mongo aspect, MongoDB aspect of this whole thing?
I think for me right now, I'm just brainstorming is the way that I kind of look at it.
Yep.
From in terms of like what's the information I want to capture. I'm kind of like what we said earlier before, right? Like this, like I'm not saying like these might not even be the names of the properties, and these might not be, the types might change. I'm definitely not going to have two schedule properties in here, right? Like we're kind of just going through a brainstorming exercise.
Yeah.
To kind of capture what we want to have. And then when we actually start to get into it, then we can start looking at more specific Mongo types. I'm sure Mongo has very specific data types that it supports. They might have a better option for recurring schedules, right? That we can look at, or they might have different data types that might be useful for what we're doing. Right now, I just want to know like what data you think is important for us to store, right? So kind of like when somebody came in and said, okay, well, it's better to store the channel ID than the channel name. Okay, well, that was awesome. That was great, right? Because I'm like, could it change? I didn't know it could change, but we just found that out.
Yep.
Right. So like, what's other really good information we want to store? Let's get it down, and then like as we start to go through like the Mongoing of it, right, and then we can kind of start looking forward to seeing like what it actually is going to look in Mongo. But again,
Cool.
like this could change. This could be Mongo. It could change. It could not be Mongo.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So some other feedback about just the product. Flyboy1565 was asking if we, and this is something for you and I to keep in mind. Our cameras are on the bottom right hand side of the stream, so it's blocking actually that schedule part there quite a bit. So if you can maybe scroll it over somehow to more toward, yeah. So it's, I think that's better. Perfect. Excellent. All right. So now we can see the whole thing better.
Okay. Great.
I hope that helps, Flyboy. Let us know if there's anything else that you catch with that. Thank you for that feedback.
Sorry.
All right, while you're messing with that, catching up more on chat here. Major Gamer Geek says, I really enjoy watching this process, how to make the bread. I'm glad to hear that, Major Gamer Geek. I really do. As somebody that frequents quite a lot of other Twitch streams as well that are focused on educational content around programming, I find that to be super beneficial too, and I'm glad to see that you feel that way as well. And then Parathon says, capture equals store? Question mark. Yes. Yeah. Capture equals store, right? I think that's what we want to do to show the history of like somebody's streaming schedule. At least to the extent of maybe a history of at least a week behind. You know, we can make a decision. We don't have to do that right now, but we can decide on like the total amount of stream days that we want to account for and keep a history of, and let that keep rolling, like a rolling week of the past schedules for somebody, for a particular channel, to show that history, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's up for determining. Something to think about. Junicus is right. The question was related to exactly that. Will this be the stored data or app state? So maybe saying that the field could be calculated versus stored might help for when you review it. I get it's a brainstorm. Okay. Yeah, so I guess, is there a way we can, through this diagram, indicate like, hey, this is something we're going to actually store in a database versus is this something that's going to be app state or calculated?
I mean, that might be something that we could use the metadata feature for. That thing that I was playing around with that I didn't understand.
All right, let's do that.
So right here, I'm going to select this field. I right click and click edit data, right? And I could just say visual state, right? Add property and say
maybe you can't have a space.
State is not. Oh, okay. I'll just say visual, add property. I'll say true, right? Okay. I'm wondering if it could change. I wonder if based on the states, based on the metadata, if you could change the color of that thing. That would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Can I do that?
Whoa, what is that? Is that CSS?
Yeah, it looked like, I think there's CSS in here. Stroke color, fill color, spacing,
Align.
right? Well, it looks like it's meta styling. It doesn't look like CSS that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone knows if you could apply styling rules based on metadata, that would be interesting if other people have used this tool before. But as of right now, I just put visual true in. So we'll keep that, and then we could, again, when we actually start to create the data, right? Like we could figure what that looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
Couple more
I know
things. We are coming up close on the end of the stream, so go ahead. I'll let you go.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say we only have about 15 minutes left, and I know we haven't even gotten into Mongo yet. So whatever we don't cover today, we're gonna get back into it. Are we gonna stream next week? Actually, next week is build. Are we?
Yeah, next week's build. So it'll be 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks from now. We'll probably do being that it'll be 2 weeks from now, we'll do a recap or like a refresher of where we left off to get everybody back up to speed, and then we'll dive deeper. Keep running with what we got here. But we still have a few more minutes, and then there's also a couple things in chat too to catch up on still. And I'm loving this. I'm like lots of folks contributing their ideas and thoughts to the project via the chat room. So thank you all for being part of that and being here to do it. Size of Void says, does it make sense to also have a channel type, such as like for tech, for music, or for games? I think that might be getting. I like the idea, but I think that might be broadening. Like we're getting into an area where we're broadening the scope of things beyond like what we're intending. Like the more focused we can be, I think the better, at least for this initial version of this thing, and we can expand to do something like that later. But I think like the purpose of this is we're looking to follow and keep a stream schedule of people that are Microsoft employees that are streaming on Twitch about coding and programming, right? So that would be the category of the stream.
But here's an idea though, like
Okay.
to kind of, and not to like be combative, but
No,
like
it's fine.
to his point, why don't we have? Would it be interesting if we had tags? Can we just call them tags, right? You know, folks have tags and they search on, loose metadata,
Yeah.
right? So can I have a tag, right? And a tag essentially would be, it's almost like having categories, I guess, but we'll have tags. This would be a list of things, right?
Okay.
I'll just put a list here, right? List of string looking things, right? And so we could say this is technology, Python, databases, cloud computing, blah, 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 chess, gaming, all of the above. And we could just have a list of different tags. Because I'm just thinking about the search functionality of it, because we're going to have to do search, right? Obviously. When we're searching for it, we could search by tag. So if someone's coming in and saying, hey, show me all the streams that talk about .NET, or show me all the streams that talk about JavaScript.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
might talk about JavaScript and other stuff, right? But maybe we could do a search by tag, right? And that will be helpful.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be too hard, right? Like this will just be a list of things, a list of string looking things.
Okay.
And then whenever we have like that creation experience, we'll have an optional field to have folks just add tags there. What do folks
Yeah.
think about that? Does that make sense for people?
It looks like it.
Because I think that's something simple to do.
Dude, and that wasn't combative. You like prefaced it like, I don't mean to be combative. That wasn't
I'm just
combative
saying,
at all.
man,
That was
I know
great.
people are sensitive, man. You got to be very cautious when when you talk about a man and his code.
You know me. I am not sensitive like that.
I know. I'm just playing.
So what else we got? Major Gaming Geek says, how do we store an every other day or every third Wednesday? Is that outside the current scope? So,
well,
yeah, go ahead.
So we could talk about that. We can put that in here, right? Now, in my head, right, here's what I think is possible, or we could talk about it. Now, I know folks are familiar with cron jobs, right? If folks are familiar with cron jobs, here's a really cool thing to take a look at. But essentially, cron jobs is a way for you to specify. That's dark. I don't like this website. I'm going to go to another website. Cron jobs are a way for you to specify how do you schedule work and things that need to happen. There must be a cron job thing that I could look at, like a UI online. I'm looking for a cron job online editor. Is that really the only one? All right. I'll go back to that website. I don't really like it because it's really dark. I think it makes it hard to see. But a cron job essentially is a notation that defines a schedule, right? And so the first one is minute, hour, day, month. I'm sorry, minute, hour, day, month. Oh, and this is day as in day of the week. And this one is day as in day of the month, right? So day of the week being Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. Day of the month being, 0 to 30, right? Because I think this is zero based. And those types of things, right? Now, in terms of specifying a recurring schedule, maybe it might make sense for us, instead of storing a date, maybe we could store like the cron of that date. Or I don't think it's actually called a cron, but we could score the cron schedule of that date. Or we could probably just have like some type of notation that says, maybe we have a string and I don't know, let me open VS Code, right? Maybe we have a string, right? And our string is just like, schedule, colon, and I'm just making stuff up, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Time 1:30 p.m. EST, right? Time zones and all that type of stuff. Maybe we could do that, or maybe we could just do this cron schedule. Like, I don't know. Like, we'll have to figure that out. I mean, if anyone has his opinion about it, like, I'd definitely love to hear what do you think makes the most sense for that. I like the cron jobs because one, it'll be pretty simple. It'll be one line, but then obviously we'll have to convert that to actual real date time. I think also too, when it comes time for us to do searching, it might be a little bit more difficult because like if we implement a search algorithm, our search algorithm will have to convert these things every single time. First is if I just make this thing, where'd it go? Where's VS Code? If I just make this thing like a time, right? Like I can create a Python time object, right?
Yeah.
And then, we'll do math on this part, right? But, this is just like converting a string to a date type thing. So I don't know. I don't know if folks have preferences or opinions about that. We could try both ways. I mean, this is an experiment. We could try both ways and see what makes the most sense and what the code looks like. But, I don't know. Let me know what everyone thinks so we can talk about it. Is cron easier to use than date time maps? I mean, it depends on what you call easy. I think crons would be very simple to store, which is why I'm just bringing up the option, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing up the option because literally we'll be storing 5 numbers, and those 5 numbers would allow us to specify a recurring schedule. Like you see, like this one says this one is going to be at, like if I did a star here, let's say I wanted something to happen every day at noon, right? I'd do -12, right? Oops, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, that is what I wanted. What are you talking about? -12 every minute. I don't want it at every minute. How do you make it not every minute? Okay, let's say I want this to be at 0. 0 past every minute of every hour. So essentially, like this will happen at 12 o'clock every day, right? I think this is actually 12 midnight. So I probably want this to be like on, is this midnight? No, that's not midnight. Anyway, you get where I'm coming from, right? You could do 12 every day. Like if I wanted this to be at like 12:30 every day, I can do, see, it's 12:30, let's say every 12:30 every month. Let's say we want this to be on, how do you specify the day? Let's say 2, right? I'll do */2. Okay, so you said this will be at 12:30 on the second day of every month, right? And you could do stuff like that, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Right, but now again, like we'll have to parse this, right? And when you search for it, we'll still have to convert it to date time because we probably want to have a range search when we talk about days, right? Like, so tell me everyone that's streaming this week, right? And then, instead of having like Python things, we'll have to figure that out. But yeah. I don't know. Again, this is just an option. I was just talking about it. We can or cannot do it. I have no opinions either way. Again, I'm just like sharing a possibility.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good to, I mean, that's the idea with this, right? Is we're going to be thinking through these things out loud with everybody, and folks in the chat are sharing a lot of their thoughts and opinions and feedback and input on this type of stuff too, which has been super helpful. So thank you all so much in chat for being here and doing that kind of stuff. It sounds like there's varying opinions on that. I think it's something that we should pick up. This should be like the first thing we pick up in terms of a discussion for the next session. So we'll make, Cecil and I will make note of that, and we'll be able to come back to some of the thoughts and opinions that folks are sharing in chat now. The other thing I want to mention is we need to start wrapping up. So don't go anywhere just yet. So there's a couple things I want to do before we wrap up. One is I want to share some more. We want to remind everybody Microsoft Build is next week, so we will not be having the usual we have a bit of a schedule on this channel, but the schedule is going to be altered for next week because of the Microsoft Build conference that's happening, and we will be streaming to this channel as part of that whole effort. So keep an eye out for that. The schedule link that's in the channel information below will be updated. It's a calendar on there that will be updated to reflect those changes so that you can see. Right now it should just be empty for next week, but you'll see, keep an eye on that to see updates for when we're going to be live on here for Build. That said, if you enjoyed today's session, you enjoyed hanging out with us and learning with us and working with us, as you can hear my daughter's trying to break into my office right now. If you enjoyed all of that, had some fun, maybe got a laugh, got some value out of it, we hope to see you again next time. Consider following so that you can keep track of that, of the Microsoft Developer Channel. If you want to get in touch with my buddy Cecil here's some links where you can find him on the internet. It's Cecil Phillip, like his name badge kind of says. If you would like to get in touch with me, my links I'm going to drop right here in chat as well, in case people are interested. Shameless plug. And we will be back here in 2 weeks. What is that? Wednesday, May 27th, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time is when we'll pick back up where we left off here. Now, the other thing I want to do is let everybody know what we're going to do next, right now. Like right now, next. That is, we're going to raid somebody here on Twitch. If you're not familiar with what a raid is, I'll explain. Actually, you know what? I want to test you, Cecil, since you've been around a lot and you've heard of raids.
Sure.
You want to explain it to the fine folks in chat that may not know what a raid is?
Sure.
On Twitch?
So my understanding of raiding is, so we're on Twitch right now. We're on the Microsoft Developer channel. And raiding is when we essentially keep the conversation going. We take everyone that's here and we move them over into someone else's channel that's already currently streaming. So, usually we try to do that with folks that we think are really good streamers, folks that are talking about content that, our audience might be interested in. Like, for instance, like if, we're all talking about Python and programming, and we're probably not going to like take you into someone that's doing like woodworking, right? I mean, that might be your thing, right? But like, we want to keep along the lines of the topic of conversation, right? So if we're doing Python and web stuff, we might want to go over to someone else that's doing Python and or web stuff, right? And so essentially, like everyone that leaves here, we're going to pick them up and we're going to take them to someone else's channel. And as you're saying that, I'm kind of just looking to see who else is online right now.
If you have a suggestion, otherwise I can find somebody quick too. But while you're doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat. Surly Dev says, why not? What is wrong with woodworking? Diversify. There's nothing wrong with woodworking. We're just saying more focused on the programming aspect of things. Sean wants to go to everybody.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with woodworking. InstaFluff is on. Looks like he's just chatting though. The AWS channel is on. Wouldn't it be funny if we leave from a Microsoft channel, go to AWS channel? What else?
I kind of want to. I kind of want to.
Would we get in trouble if we do that?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed. Like, I don't care.
I don't know if that would be.
All right, let's not poke the bear. You know what I'm saying?
Why not?
Let's not poke the bear. Hey man, like if you want to do it, man, I'm down, man. You know me.
No. All right. It's right before build. Let's not test the waters with that.
Let's look and see what InstaFluff is doing and talking about, and let's do it.
All right. InstaFluff is doing Pixel Plush Market launch AI competition to Gold League. I don't know what that means. All right, but and he's just there's also this gentleman Anthony Writes Code, who's doing open source Python programming. That's more fitting, right?
I've never heard about him, but let's go over there. Let's try that.
I've not either. I'm also all right. Well, hold on a second. Let's catch up on chat a little bit too. Sean says you can be John Oliver making fun of Business Daddy. Oh, AT&T? Yeah. One Lopez says not before build, LOL. Yeah, exactly. Snapshot says he's very good. Okay, cool. All right, thank you for giving. And if anybody else can, because I have not tuned into Anthony Wright's Code just yet, but I've heard good things as well. Sean says they did a couple minutes ago. Major Gamer Geek. What's that? Oh, would you be sharing the collection links on social media? Yeah. You want to drop the links that we shared earlier too? And the GitHub account one more time for folks in the chat room that are interested in keeping up with that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I'll do that. I'll pop the GitHub in here in the chat really quickly. And I will also, hey, buddy. Hey, I'm almost done, all right? Give me like 5 minutes. This is my son. Say hi, buddy.
Hi.
And Cameron Nappy, come on, man. And I will, I got the links. I put them in a document. Let me grab that document and I will share the links with everyone.
All right, cool. All right, sounds good. All right, we're going to go raid Anthony Wright's Code. Thank you all again so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Over here. Oh, no. I just did the wrong thing. I just messed up.
What did you do, man?
I just keep messing up is all. That's all. Here we go.
I'm like,
there we go.
Should I be scared? Like what happened?
No. Don't worry about it. I'm just, professional streamer over here. That's all.
Sure.
Making mistakes. Thank you all so much for being here. We hope to see you again. We hope you have a good rest of your week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Keep an eye out for Microsoft Build, some cool stuff that's going to be announced there that you all might be interested in. And we'll see you in 2 weeks from now. Later. See ya.
Bye.
Let's switch to ending. Bye, everybody.